I'm Jay Thomas, and welcome to Rides.
Sponsored by OK Tire, this show looks at anything that has an engine and a story told by the owners.
All right, here we go, another road trip. It's called Legacy of the Lakes. Now, it's a boat and marine museum, but most of the boats there on display, a lot of this stuff is, I believe, owned by one gentleman, and he basically, stores his stuff here. So here we go, off to Alexandria, Minnesota. Man, there's a lot of smoke in the sky. Get a shot of that sun. We made it, Legacy of the Lakes. Let's go look at some really cool boats. And that must be Casey Johnson right there. Casey, how you doing?
Hi, good, hi. Nice
Jay
to
Thomas.
see you, Casey.
Hey, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, no problem.
So Legacy of the Lakes Museum, huh?
Yeah.
How long's this been around?
The museum opened in 2006, but
Okay.
the society that made the museum has been around since the mid-90s.
And it's not just boats, it's pretty much everything marine, right?
Yeah, lake culture, lake life. I mean, there's nothing more Minnesota than falling in love with the lake, so.
Well, born and raised Minnesota, Iron Ranger.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know a little bit about growing up around the lakes. This place is really cool. You gonna give us the full tour?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I want to start with this contraption right here. What is this?
This is called the Helibow.
Wait, let me, first of all, this doesn't actually fly.
No, it doesn't.
This looks like something off the Jetsons.
It does, or we hear a lot of James Bond.
Oh yeah,
Lots of
okay,
James
yeah,
Bond.
definitely. Yeah.
So the Helibow was designed by a man named Brooks Stevens,
Okay.
and he was commissioned by Evinrude Motors to create something that would inspire the outboard builders of tomorrow. Like, this is what we could accomplish.
Sure.
So it was designed in the 1960s, and Brooks Stevens is actually the guy who designed the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile.
The Wienermobile.
Which is where most people know him
Yep.
from. So it doesn't fly, but the prop did spin at one point, and that's because of the Starflight motor series on the back.
And this slides shut. And
It does, and then the steering wheel actually switches sides, so you can either have co-pilots, and feel free to grab it and give it a.
It does.
Yeah.
Look at that.
So you could, it's for ease of getting in and out, but also you can switch to your co-pilot, to you.
That is crazy. Well, this is cool. I mean, on rides, we always say if it's cool, has a story, a motor, an engine, we want to film it, and boats are, boats fall in that realm. This is amazing. Wow. So what's the oldest boat in here?
The oldest boat in here is 1894.
Okay,
And it's
and-
one of our launches. So
These are launches.
these are launches. So the oldest one is Dungeness, which is the one on the far side here.
Okay.
And that boat was actually owned by the Carnegie family. It was the tender for their yacht, Dungeness.
Okay.
So that's why we call it that. So the tenders were like the workhorses of the day. So you're taking people from shore to the ship or hauling goods and things back and forth.
It basically was a Uber of the day.
Kind of, yeah. It was like
okay.
a taxi.
Okay.
And because this was ocean going, like, the yacht would have been on the ocean. So
Yeah.
this is made with a lapstrake construction, which some people believe is stronger.
Okay.
So that's the clinker. It's the overlapping pieces of wood. And it was actually a technique invented by Scandinavians way before the Viking Age, but most famously known for Viking longboats. This is an Alexandria Boatworks sedan. This is probably the only one in the world. It was a special order for a gentleman that was part of the Missouri Club, which is a angling club here in the area made up of Minnesota and Missouri businessmen, hence Missouri. Alexandria Boatworks was one of the first, if not the first, boatworks in Minnesota. So this is our kind of recreation.
Yeah.
The family of the founder was really heavily involved with the creation of this exhibit. So.
This is cool. What is it? Is this a boiler? What is this?
So that's the naphtha engine. Instead of boiling water, it boils naphtha.
Oof.
I know, but it was considered safer than steam because at the time, steam engines boilers were very prone to exploding.
Yep.
And the thing was with steam is that you needed an engineer. You needed somebody to handle the steam part while you, the captain, was driving the boat. These did allow them to do that because you didn't need an engineer to do it. These are pretty rare. There's only one. This is one of two that exist as originally built, so with all the original fittings and everything on the naphtha engine.
No kidding.
Yep.
Look at that prop. Oh, man. What is this?
It's called a surf skimmer, and it's a motorized surfboard. So it's fuel injected, so the throttle there, so you would just squeeze the trigger, and if you fell, there was also a safety tether, so if you fell off, it would stop.
No, thank you. There's no way I'm getting on that thing. Holy smoke, look at these Garwoods. Wow. What's the story on these two?
Well, Garwood was, he was born in Iowa, but he grew up on Lake Osakis, which is of course just down the road from us here.
It is, yeah.
His father was a ferry boat operator on Lake Osakis, and so he would help his father out. And then he, got involved in different marine activities up on Lake Superior. And eventually he invented the hydraulic lift for like dump trucks.
Oh, okay.
That's where he made all his money. And then
Okay.
his passion was really boat racing. He was the first man in the world to go over 100 miles per hour on water in the 1930s. And so
Now you think about 1930 going 100 miles an hour in the water.
I think it was
That is
102 was I think what he did. And then later he went like 130.
Oh,
So he was called the Silver Fox of racing. He was very well known. He had a huge fan following. And he also built boats. It was kind of his passion project. So here you have an example from the 1930s. So you can see the little narrower hull.
Yep.
It's a little bit more Art Deco in design. And then post-war, this kind of 1940s victory named after, the war effort. So
These are stunning.
yeah, there's just nothing quite like the beauty of a wood boat. And,
Just the color of it and all the bright work on it.
the mahogany, so Honduras or Philippine mahogany.
Jeez.
And actually, Victory is kind of unique because post-war, the supply lines for mahogany dried up because obviously war messes with shipping.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And so most of the hulls at that time were painted. So the fact that you have an exposed mahogany hull is kind of a unique thing.
And the gauges in here are it's like you'd go into a jewelry store to buy these gauges. They're gorgeous. Wow, that's a beast. Holy smoke.
And a lot of these motors have also been, also restored. Some of them have had replacement motors, but a lot of times people do take the hours to spend restoring the motors as well.
That's crazy.
So this is a Model 118. It is the only one ever built. And I look at this and I'm like, how do you even get into this?
How do you?
Very carefully.
Don't go anywhere. More rides after the break.
So tell us about Legacy of the Lakes. When are you open?
So we open usually about mid-May, and
Okay.
we're open through October 31st.
Okay.
And a lot of that has to do with the boats because we need to store them in temperature safe and controlled areas because wood is very susceptible.
Yeah.
I just learned this the other day, is that these boats were only ever made to last 8 years.
Oh, really?
Yep, they just figured they would rot away because they're on water all the time. So the time and care that goes into maintaining these and restoring these is
Whoa.
quite extensive. 1918 Birch launch. It's made in New York. It's pretty indicative of the Thousand Islands region. This was your taxi. It was a lot easier to get around by boat than it was by road.
Wow.
And so
Look
these
at
are what you have.
this.
I like the wicker furniture.
I was
mixed
just looking at that
with
too,
the
going
chairs.
again. Okay. I don't think those are strapped down, are they?
No. So this is a Model 118. It is the only one ever built, and it's a convertible. So the top does open and close. And I look at this and I'm like, how do you even get into this? Get into the main cockpit? It's
Yeah. How do you?
very carefully. So it's a partial convertible, so it does, this does fold down. And then if you were to look at this one, this is a full convertible. So the canopy comes up. And this is Duchess, also a 1929.
6-cylinder flathead. I gotta look
Oh
at
yeah,
that.
take a look.
Oh, man.
Up here above our heads here, this is Quicksilver. It's a racing runabout, and that's its motor right there.
That's the motor for that
That's the
little boat
motor
up
for
there?
that up there. So at the time, that went about
Wow.
50 miles per hour on water, which for 1950,
That's
pretty good.
fast.
It's
That's
pretty good.
That's not bad, yeah.
yeah. Hackercraft Baby Dolphin.
It looks early century, but yet it doesn't because they're just
Timeless.
so decked
It's
out and they're sleek. All right, what's this?
This is Baby Horus 3. So this is on loan to us this season. It's part of that Dodge Dream exhibit. And this was an actual race boat raced by Horace Dodge Jr.
This was actually a Horace Dodge Jr.'s boat?
Yes, they found it in a storage barn at the Dodge home or one of the Dodge properties in like the 1980s. And they just pulled it out and it was in pretty good shape, but they did do an obvious restoration on it. And this was a sweepstakes boat. So they were made for, long distances. It was kind of about the driver and how well he could handle going those like 150-mile sweepstakes were pretty much the norm. And he actually set a speed record in this. Of course, Horace Dodge Jr. is the son of Dodge Motor Company founder Horace Dodge, so he had a lot of wealth behind him
money was not a problem.
to indulge his passion of race boats.
This thing's got to get up and boogie 502 in it.
Because this is a race boat, it has a vastly different profile to like the runabouts that you see behind us here. He had at one point over 30 race boats to his name.
Good Lord. 30?
So he was constantly making new boats. What I love about the Dodges is that his sister was also a prolific race boat driver as well. And so he built boats for her. She won quite a few races herself. And so the whole Dodge family was kind of boat mad.
Oh, they're car mad too.
They were.
So what do we have? Is this another Dodge, evidently?
This is Dodge, yes. So this is from the 1930s. So Horace Dodge Jr. had two companies, the Horace E. Dodge Boat Works. And then in the 1930s, he opened up a brand new facility in Newport News, and he created the Dodge Boat and Plane Corporation because the intention was that they would also build planes as well.
Okay.
And they also used aircraft engines in a lot of the boats.
Really?
Yep. So this is from the post. So he used to call his cars water cars to kind of connect with his automotive roots and make people trust the Dodge brand. There was a lot of trust in the Dodge brand.
Yep.
So he was counting on that. And then in the 1930s, he kind of shifted, and it was all about like the sleek designing, and he changed out and did a lot of details. He hired a sculptor to create these winged sea nymphs.
Oh, look at that.
And these are on all of his models post-1930s.
Look at that. Okay, and what's this one here?
This is also from the 1930s, and again, the way you can tell is
I was gonna say it right there.
the winged sea nymph.
God, look at that gauge panel on there.
Everything was kind of designed for this Art Deco 1930s. So this is Garbo over here, named after Greta Garbo.
Really?
Yep,
Really? Okay.
1930s. It's got some beautiful transom art.
So I'm just blown away by the attention to detail. I mean, when, I mean, everything is just so over the top. Just like I said, looks like you'd go to a jewelry store just to buy the gauges.
Dodge was very much invested in how things looked aesthetically, which is kind of funny to me because his original goal was to do what his father and uncle had done for the automobile, which is put them in the hands of the middle class.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen because his boats were so overpriced. But during the Depression, of course, they had to switch gears. And so they were offering runabouts for, $500, $900.
Okay.
But again,
even back then, that's a big chunk
I mean,
of money.
like I said, when you consider that the average house cost, $4,000,
Yeah.
it's still quite a bit. But
Yeah, this definitely is not middle class. I just looked up. What do we got here?
that's an ice boat.
Okay.
So those are made to go over the ice. So they have runners that would run across the top of the ice. So ice boating was kind of invented in the Netherlands because obviously they have a lot of canals that freeze over.
Sure.
And then in 1790 something, they had the first ice boat race on Hudson River, and where it really got started in Minnesota was Lake Minnetonka.
That's a big lake, yep. Actually, I'd do that. That looks like it'd be kind of fun. Look at this monster.
That's a racing skull from St. John's University. It's called Rattus rattus, which is the scientific name for the black rat.
Okay. And the motor on that one, that would be human power there.
Yeah.
That's what
no
that
horsepower,
one is.
human power.
Okay, what is this? This looks like somebody took a snowmobile and dropped an outboard.
Snowmobiles on water.
Don't go anywhere. More rides after the break.
Now, here's some really cool stuff.
So they're called express boats. And back in the earliest days when people lived out on Lake Minnehaha or Minnetonka, they would take the Twin Cities Rapid Transit around the cities, but then you could also connect to Lake Minnetonka, and then these express boats would take you across the lake. So there was a fleet of 7 of these that took people across the lakes, but eventually they just weren't profitable to operate, and so they scuttled them. They just took them out, they stripped out all of the benches and things, and then they filled them with rubble and sank them.
Oh, are you serious?
Yep.
So
And
these things are sitting at the bottom of Lake Minnetonka?
there are still a few. There's 3 more sitting at the bottom of Lake
No
Minnetonka,
kidding.
and they are protected marine archaeological sites now. But in the 1980s, they decided to raise one of them, and so the Minnehaha was the one that they ended up raising. They didn't know which one it was at the time.
Okay.
They restored it, and ever since then, the Minnehaha has been taking people around Lake Minnetonka.
Oh, there you go, Tonka Craft.
Tonka Craft.
Now that looks like you're just your typical old.
Yep, your average Joe.
And this has got the.
The lap straight construction again. This is a D White runabout. I like this boat because it's a outboard masquerading as an inboard.
Oh, look at that. I could probably afford this back in the
The
day.
Alumacraft?
It was the old Alumacraft.
2 of these were ever produced, and we think this is the last one. It's an inboard Alumacraft.
Okay, what is this?
It's an inboard Falls Flyer. So this was created by Larson Boat Works, which is of course from Little Falls, Minnesota.
Larson Boats?
Larson Boats.
Yep.
And he was friends with Charles Lindbergh. And
Really?
and so he named these boats after him, Falls Flyer. And the color scheme is based off of Charles Lindbergh's Jenny biplane. So it's cedar strip, and then it's covered with canvas. So this is a canvas shell.
Oh, wow.
And this one's actually pretty unique because it hasn't had restoration work done.
This is a barn find, basically.
This is how this was, yes. There, this is our captain. He's hanging out.
I don't know if I trust him behind the wheel.
Right.
Here's a car. One car sitting in the Legacy Lakes Boat Museum. What is this?
So that is a one-of-a-kind, and it's a boat body on a Volkswagen chassis. It was made mostly for like promotion and parades and things like that. It still works to this day. We take it out for spins every once in a while.
So you guys actually take this out and drive it, huh?
Yeah.
And this is the only one Larson did.
Only one. So like I said, boat and then on a chassis, and then they built all these custom fenders and things like that for it.
And then the boat to go.
Yep, 1955.
That has got to turn heads when you have.
Oh
that.
yeah, we park it in front of the museum on nice days, and
Yeah.
so it draws people inside all the time.
VW Flyer, love it. Look at all the Johnson.
The Johnson Seahorse is probably one of the most ubiquitous brands, very well known in Minnesota.
This looks like somebody took a snowmobile and dropped an outboard
I
motor
mean, that's
on it.
what a lot of the early designs of these early personal watercraft were.
See, I didn't realize that they made personal watercraft back then.
1960s, actually.
60s?
Was one of the first ones.
What did
that
those look
introduced,
like?
Snowmobiles on water. You've caught more fish if you had a dark bottom boat.
Now, do we know if there's any truth to that?
Don't go anywhere. More rides after the break.
What do we got here?
This is our fishing gallery. So
Okay.
of course, Minnesota, we're very well
Yep.
known for our fishing.
yeah.
So this is just kind of an homage to the fishing history of Minnesota. And so
Look.
these boats were used by fishing guides in the area, Harry Bemo, Al Wicken, they're very well known at the time. And they would just take their clients out. So they worked for resorts, they worked for themselves, and you could pay them to take you out and go fishing for hours, and they take you to their secret spots. And you'll notice this
The
one.
honey hole.
Yep. This one's all green on the bottom because the Al believed that if you caught more fish if you had a dark bottom boat,
Okay.
So
Now,
that
do
was,
we know if there's any truth to that?
he was pretty successful
Well,
as a fishing guide, so
There you
maybe.
go. That's an old fish house.
So this is something you'd see pretty typically in the mid-century. This was it. I might have a little heater in there.
A little here's the lunchbox, couple holes.
That's all you need.
That is one big fish
In
coming
fact,
through
there's
the
a
hole.
handmade sled behind you. It was made actually out of a shipping crate of an outboard motor, but that had a heater in it, all the holes for your ice fishing, everything you needed for going out on the
Hey.
lake. So,
Oh, look at this old ice auger.
ice auger, that'd take you
Holy
a
cow.
while.
Man,
to
you
get
have to
through.
be in shape.
Yeah, and dedicated.
Yeah,
Dedicated
really
to the ice
dedicated
fishing.
because the ice gets thick up here.
It does.
Look at these are really old.
So we run the gamut: Atwaters, Martins, Evinrude's, Johnson's.
Yeah, look at all the old fishing lures. How long has this museum been around?
2006. So the main museum opened in 2006. We did have a display earlier at our fellow neighbor next door, the Runestone Museum.
Okay.
So we used their building to do a display in 2004. And then they bought this building, which used to be an old city garage, and retrofitted it to look like one of the resorts from the early era. So the
Okay.
front of our museum is actually made to look like an old resort.
This is crazy. You were able to amass this much stuff. 2006. That's actually a pretty short amount of time to get this much stuff. Well, I got to tell you, this has been a blast. I mean, there's so much. Every time I turn around, there's something else I didn't notice at first. I just noticed those too. This is definitely a destination place. Again, there's so much history in here, and the boats are just, I mean, gorgeous, just over the top.
We like them.
I bet you do. I like them too. Well, listen, Casey, this has been a blast. Again, Legacy of the Lakes, Alexandria, Minnesota. Open up, about mid-May?
Mid-May to October 31st every year.
There you go. So if you're in the area, come by, say hi, and just drool, because that's what this is. Thanks for being on Rides.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank
Thank you
you,
for having us.
Casey.
Hey, if you have a cool story that involves a car, a motorcycle, a boat, heck, anything with an engine, we want to hear about it. Just go to rideswithjthomas.tv, send us a picture with your story, and your ride can be featured on the show. Be sure to visit our YouTube page for full episodes and exclusive content. From everyone here at Rides, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Boats, old yachts, runabouts. It's just, I didn't know what, you know what to say about boats. Bust out another 1,000.
You can be sitting down, look like you're doing something.
You're not just standing here waiting for people.
Let's go look at some really cool boats.